igneous rock. Granite is an igneous rock. It's pushed up over millions of years out of the ground. It's hot. The toes and from above your toes. And that's exactly what we find here.
Wow, great. Awesome. It's really great. I'm just finding the right folder for you, and I'm sorting it by the date, I guess. Maybe the other date. It's kind of inconvenient still in my life. There we go. Let's take a look at something here before we get tired of this graphic. And I got all these pictures. What is wrong with this? It's stupid. That's what it is. I got this for you. And before we talk about this stuff, I mean, look, let's just go through some photos. I don't have any Google Earth for you today. The matrix here is that, wait, where's the other one? It should have been right there. Okay, that's sad. That's another sad thing. Where is it? Right there. Okay, so this should be over here so you can't see it, and I just enlarged this here. So this field here, you have to ask yourself, okay, it's a little bit pixelated, and so that's why I had this other one that I did. I don't know if it's clearer. It's a little pixelated. You can get in there with Google Earth and get a lot closer. And the question is whether or not this material, these straight lines that you see happening here, why do they happen like that? That wasn't taught in geology class. So the question that I have is, were these little mountains or whatever they are, were they carved down and erosion corroded it down to this level? Or is it something else? So I was thinking to myself about this white stuff everywhere. It's everywhere. Let's take a look through the pictures. Now he's talking about this footprint. I do want to try to let you see that, but before we do that, let's close down all of the other extra ones. We can go through and look at this white stuff. You see it at the top of the mountains, and you have to ask yourself what that stuff could be. I showed almost 4 years ago, like 3 years ago, this stuff in South Africa, these tracks. Well, what could those tracks be going through? Right? Let me just double check and make sure I have sound. Because if I don't have sound, then I'm wasting my breath, right? Cool. And I don't know how loud I am. Let's take a look at the OBS real quick and see the levels. And we could probably turn that off. And there, you know, Randall Carlson is the man. You know, he knows this stuff already. He's just not telling us. He's holding it back. He only knows so much stuff that he can, leverage. And so he's holding it back. All right, so I'm just checking the mic. Maybe I'll turn it up just a little bit. Am I louder now? Because I don't have it right in my face. So I'm turning it up just a little bit because it sounded like it's low. And then we'll talk about, let's talk about this white stuff. Now, this is not necessarily white, so it doesn't have to be white. But what is this stuff? Okay, here, look at this picture here. There's some straight lines going on, right? You've got some type of megalithic track, and the foundation of this track is these, look at that. It just seems to like it was dumped in there, and it was, that stuff was put in there, right? That stuff came last. That stuff wasn't first. What is that stuff? Is that first or second? The green area, obviously we don't have to count the grass, but that's the first layer. And you see these, what I consider unnatural lines, and especially the cutting one, and you've got these channels, and you've got these bridges. And to me, this looks just like one of these channel bridges. But maybe they're not bridges. Maybe they're just OB dumping. Okay, this stuff. Okay, maybe it's the same stuff as this. Now, we know that Robert Schoch doesn't believe this stuff is unnatural. And that would mean, and what's the argument here? Well, what are we stepping in? What would a footprint like that step in? What is that white stuff that Michael Tellinger talked about? Here we have these ancient and prehistoric footprints. I think is it Arizona? I'm not sure where this is exactly, but it's in the North American desert. But in South Africa, we've got this same white stuff, you know. So what is it? Well, I'll just say it. It's a byproduct of something. Are these originally I thought these were ancient plateaus that were carved down, but now I'm thinking maybe this white stuff was actually a byproduct of the mining activity. And you can see it. What do you get? You get footprints in the mud. You get tracks going through the mud too, depending on the activities, right? And these ancient tracks could be the footprint of there's several guesses, right? Ancient aliens, giants. I doubt that's human. When you look at the how big this is, and I'm sorry that always pops up. We don't really have a legend anyways, but I've shown all this before. We've got these straight lines going. We've got tracks in Malta. We've got tracks. If you check out the New Earth channel, she put tracks everywhere. Ancient tracks. Those were small tracks compared to these. These are big tracks. And you've got your also bridges, this stuff crossing over. Here's what I consider to be the 1, 2, 3, I believe. 1. Look at that line. You've got the line, right? It goes through, but then you've got the mining activity, and then the ancient tracks going next to the mining activity, creating triangles. You've got 1, 2, 3 little amphitheaters created by something. You're going to say that's a natural erosive? You've got that track going right down the cliff right there, right down the edge. This is in South Africa. And most of what I'm showing you is, and look at that, inside there's a house. That little white speck. This stuff is big. It's really big. And we've got our ancient shortcuts. I mean, that shortcut is kind of not really a shortcut if you look at it. It's almost like you're almost going to do more work. It's not very smooth. But why is it, to begin with, why is it there? These tracks, these ancient tracks going through this stuff that's at the top of these plateaus. I used to think it was natural stuff, but now I'm thinking maybe this stuff was used to create structures. OB dumping. And now I've even learned something new just tonight that actually backs this up even more. I'll save it for the last part. Let's see if we have any chats. Any where's the stuff? Nobody? Okay, that's okay. I'll keep it short, you know. I don't have to go all night. Okay, see this? Look at that big old white plateau. And then you've got a track going right through the middle. Is it possible that this white plateau was added later from, what is it? Well, let's listen to, I wanted to take a look at Michael Tellinger's video. And I guess that means I'm going to have to just do it. Let's listen to him talk. I don't think I can probably get away with it if I don't show you. He's talking about the footprint. But I already, and by the way, I was checking into giants. An ancient human has been found twice in the Carthaginian, maybe that was the Bible, or maybe that was something separate from the Bible. I still haven't researched it. 36 feet is the tallest giant that we have some type of evidence of, some type of report. Or look at that stuff. And why is that stuff moving like a river? Well, maybe this answers the question. Maybe I'm about to answer the question. Look at that track. And this type of OB dumping right here, this type of, you think that's a mountain? I don't. It looks like what's OB dumping. It's supposed to be right next to it. I searched by name. It should have been right next to it, but it wasn't. We're going to get back to that. Okay, this stuff, you can see here, this stuff. It looks like something imprinted right there. It doesn't look like it was a erosion. It looks like a footprint. It looks like this stuff was used to build lots of weird structures, lots of different things. And also when you go across it and a track forms, you've got this gap. This stuff creates, I mean, are those ancient plateaus? I always thought this was an ancient plateau and that the stuff on top of it was natural. But now I'm thinking that that stuff on top might have been laid out first or later. I'm not sure. In the mining process, we've got something called mining slurry. It's a type of a trailing. And actually, I just found out even something more exciting about this. And it might even explain a lot of different things about these tracks right here. Now this thing is more of a, I don't know what created those roads, if it's this white stuff or not, but I do see like a little bridge here, but that's not a bridge. That's not a bridge. There's another bridge down the canal there. Look at this stuff. Like we have this gap, it just goes right through, and nothing grows on this stuff. I mean, it might get a little bit of cover of dirt and then something grows on it, but it seems like the stuff itself can't really support plants. And this is our thumbnail, and that could be a brick wall. So don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stone walls out there that look like solid black matter, not inferior stone. But to me, this looks similar to some of those nodes we see along the paths. This is along one path. It's not showing in this picture. And if you want to know where this is, you're going to have to do a little research and digging, because I've shown this before. Go to my previous videos. But maybe that's actually created from the chef's frosting bag, where he uses it to just create walls with this stuff, this byproduct. And is this stuff actually put on top of ancient terraforming? That means the terraforming is older than the stuff. All right, so you can see it here. Let's look at the rest of the pictures in a minute. Well, actually, no, I better not do it like that. Let's do it this way. I find an interesting one here. Look at that stuff.
This is not a cop.
Okay, so he's talking about the footprint.
And that's exactly what we find here. This is not a carving, this is real. Now, anyone that studies mainstream geology or archaeology will immediately think, well, how is it possible? You can't leave a footprint in igneous rock. Granite is an igneous rock. It's pushed up over millions of years out of the ground. It's hot and boiling and blah, 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 and you can't leave a footprint in it. Well, those would be the people that haven't done their research. They don't have enough information to figure out why you could leave a footprint in this kind of rock. Because what seems to us as rock may not actually be rock. When you take granite, you crush it up, you extract the gold, extract the metals, extract the material, and you leave it lying around in its wet, cement, concrete-like state, it becomes hard again. It becomes a granite and a solid mass again. I've had beautiful information shared with me by a Canadian gold miner in the Canadian Rockies that claims exactly this kind of thing. It says when they leave the gold mining activity behind in autumn and they leave for winter and leave behind these piles of wet cement concrete like slurry, and when they come back after winter they find footprints of bears and birds and other animals in what they left behind. And now those footprints have become hard. They are in the granite that looks like rock. If anybody finds those, they'd be wondering, how is it possible for bears and deer and birds to leave footprints in the granite? Because it wasn't a solid rock granite to start off with. It was originally a processed material like concrete out of which they extracted the gold. And that is the common denominator here. We have ancient gold mines, we have stories of Anunnaki and giants, the way we have in the Bible and in the Sumerian texts, and we have the common denominator called gold, gold mining. I've shared with you already the incredible amount of stories on the gold, how much gold has been mined in southern Africa in the last 120 years, and now we start looking at how much gold has been mined here in the last 100 and 200 and 300,000 years. This giant footprint is a very, very sober reminder that there is a history here, an unwritten history that we know nothing about, and this footprint needs to be cherished and investigated. And we need to investigate this rock to see how much gold is in this rock, or if the gold has been extracted. From my understanding, this granite is reasonably rich in gold, and this is why they wanted to come and mine this for gold and possibly other minerals. So the next step here is to take samples of this and have it analyzed to see how much gold is in here and other minerals in there. And if it is a processed material, if it is granite, or if it is a material that's already been crushed and rehardened. One final thing on this. In one of our lectures, while I was talking about the giant footprint, a guy put up his hand and said he works in the glue, in the epoxy business. That's what he does. He's an epoxy chemist. And granite powder is an active ingredient in epoxy glue that helps the glue to become hard. And there we have another important ingredient. So, welcome to the giant footprint. Share this with the rest of the world. This is one of the great ancient sites that should be seen by those who are interested in this part of human history. Thank you very much.
That, and just wanted to remind you one more time where that came from. Check it out yourself. He's Michael Tellinger, of course, and he is doing several videos on this. But I heard that, and I'm like, man, he put it spot on, nailed it. By the way, I almost ate glass just now when I was listening to that. There's a product, Pellegrino water. Yeah, no, it's San Pellegrino. San Pellegrino's bottle just put a big old chunk of glass in my drink. Okay, I'm pissed. But anyways, I got to keep on going, and I didn't get cut. Could these mountains here be the product of some type of overburden dumping that was going on? Or, I mean, that's big. Those are mountains, okay? But they really don't make sense to me, nor do these parallel curved mountains. Could they be overdumping of some ancient kind? And could these peaks also be? I think there's the where it's next to it. I mean, those are the same mountains right there. So this little one has a flat, and they're just in the middle of nowhere, and they just, what's that, a volcano did that? Not the way that looks. That doesn't look volcanic. It looks conical. Not like a volcano, conical. And then you've got what's going on in Tibesti, and that's very vast. Were these structures carved down to from a plateau? I don't think so. I think that they were actually the same overburden dumping stuff, this stuff that I've been talking about the whole time, you know. So I don't know if I have anybody live anymore. Nobody's coming to see me. It says I have one watching. So I'm going to finish this up. Here's a modern day mine in South Africa, and next to it, or not next, but nearby, actually that's in South Africa. This is in Lesotho. That's in South Africa, I believe. But what it looks like to me is the same similar. What did they use these things for? Were they mines? They don't look like mines. They look like they were some type of a pit for gold, where you put the slurry right in there and let it separate and let it sit. So you've got this stuff, and this is the next big news. And I'm going to finish this video off after I show it. This is the craziest thing. It's the, let's close this down. I want to show you. Right here, I was doing a little research using the chat GPT. And it said a slurry. Well, I said, what's slurry? I didn't even say what. I said, what is slag? Because I kind of got confused. And I asked the original question, what type of mine tailings are there? And it said there's two main types, dry and wet. I'm like, wet, yeah. Dry tailings are generated from air separation processes and are usually deposited in piles or embankments. Piles, dry. Okay, wet are generated from wet separation processes and are typically deposited in the form of a slurry in tailings, ponds, or dams. In tailings, ponds, or dams. Okay, it depends on the type of mining. But what did I say next? What is slag? Slag is metal smelting, so it's not really related to mining. But there are some similarities with slag. It's a byproduct. Slurry, though. Now, slurry was the term that you heard Michael Tellinger use. And it was maybe the first time I heard it, because I was thinking to myself, look at what that footprint's in, whether it's real or fake. I believe it's... do I believe it's real? I'm not going to say I'd bet my life it's real, but what I would say is there's other footprints, and that looks like the best form of a footprint to me. Some of these other ones look fake, and it's because of the slurry that it's in. And he did a great explanation, and I had to grab that, and I just said, screw it, I'm just going to play it, because if I even got a copyright, I'd be privileged to get a copyright strike from Michael Tellinger. However, I don't think he's the type of person that would do that, especially under these circumstances. A slurry is a mixture of solid and a liquid, usually in the form of a suspension of fine particles in a liquid medium. Okay, whoa, it's mud, right? Well, how about mud that contains gold? Because these are used in industrial processes such as mining, construction, food processing, and chemical production. Let's get back to mining. In mining, and by the way, I don't know, maybe it knew I was talking about mining. I don't think it finished. It says, in mining, slurry is often used to transport minerals. Okay, so this white stuff possibly could be used to transport. Now, let's take a look at this picture right here. So let's say they were transporting it, and then it became a plateau. So now we've got these lines cut in it. Why? Maybe some later miners were using that because there's valuable stuff in that slurry, right? So that's why it looks like it's been mined and quarried a little bit. Now, you might not think so, but in my opinion, when I see these lines like that, and there's a 45-degree angle line going right through there, and maybe it's not exactly 45 degree, but you've got right here a rectangle end. That might be a bit of a stretch. I was thinking that was a mining line. Maybe I'm wrong. But you take this line, that's very clear, right? These are all going in the same direction. And then you've got these lines. That's a river. But this line looks like it's part of the whole mining thing. That actually looks like part of the tracks or the gutters. And they're all going through this stuff. So, when we talk about around the world, these types of things, maybe, and I don't know if I'm going to find the ones I had of Utah. I considered Utah to be one of the oldest places, and I got those pictures in here somewhere. I can't believe I just had that glass in my mouth. It was a sharp piece of rim. It was like it was almost half of a rim. It was just the top. It was like a razor sharp. I almost swallowed it. And there's probably glass in my body right now, but it was smaller particles. I really got close to just... Luckily, Oh my god, that sucked. Okay, let's find that stuff in Utah, and then I'll finish this up. But look at that, what ChatGPT just said. This stuff was used to transport. What are these channels for? Why did they have a channel there? Was that the transport channel? Were the tracks on both sides of this channel the actual transport track? And here you see the roads. Were there vehicles that drove down and created these tracks? And they created these gutters from all this activity? Or were they like one big vehicle that made that track? Or was it actually just a wheel of an either even larger vehicle that made that track? The thing is that I kind of tend to see only single lines. Look at that track. That looks like, I used to call these canals, but maybe it's just a track, a giant track. These ridges, I can't explain them. They turn into gutters, and they go and turn into ridges again. They go through this stuff, and that to me is just weird, and I don't know how to explain. You guys, thank you for your support. There's Utah. In fact, these so-called needles are supposed to be natural. Now, maybe some of this was created with that stuff, and then it got mined later. So you have both sides. You've got old stuff, and then you've got even older stuff. This byproduct, it's concrete. These dikes in Colorado, could those be walls made of this stuff? Could they be walls that were created to move and transport the gold from the Colorado Spanish peaks? Are these walls, or are they transport devices to move the slurry down the mountain. Maybe they were rivers of molten slurry. And you have to ask yourself, were they up here? This is what I consider overburden dumping in the Sahara Desert. And I don't even think I got this far. I don't know what happened. Oh, I think I accidentally closed it. This is coming from the Spanish Peaks. And this stuff is all over. Look at this one. This one's interesting because you've got the stuff, and then you've got the lines going through the stuff, and then you got this mound on top that looks like something was added later on top of all that previous activity. So which is older, this mound or all this so-called erosion, which I don't believe it is. Look at this line. This is up in the Sahara Desert, and you've got this line going under the 1,000-foot tall sand dunes that are like thousands of years old, I think. I mean, if we consider first, this place was green and lush about 5,000, maybe 4,000 years ago. And then you've got these lines going underneath. Were they walls? I don't know. But look, you've got a little structure right up against the wall. And maybe those walls are made of this stuff. These little things, I don't know. These little, I mean, there's a bunch of them here. And you can follow down here if you really want to know. I don't have the link. Go back into, I guess, was this Atlantis? This looks like it's all that stuff. Like it was a bunch of, this is Utah. And you're seeing the lines go parallel through the stuff. So maybe the stuff, and this looks old too. If you get in there, it looks like you see this stuff on top, but you see an older layer underneath. So you think maybe the stuff was put there first, and then it got quarried or mined, and then it eroded. That's a long time. So it's kind of hard for me to understand which came first. This is Algeria. Thanks for the thumbs up, by the way. That's great. I really appreciate it. And if you give me more thumbs up, if you haven't given me one, give me one. It'll give me more viewers, and then I'll last a little longer. Other than that, I'm going to go wash my mouth out from glass. So I look at these roads that I've found in the Sahara, and they seem like they're going through some kind of foundation of stuff, like a byproduct. So maybe this is also signs of ancient mining. I didn't really think that. Now these so-called volcanic dikes coming down from the mountains, these are in the USA, I think. Gotta double check that, but I believe that's US. Here's a plateau. You can see the lines underneath it, and then you got this other mound of matter that's a totally different color, right? In fact, purple plus beige turns into turquoise. It looks like it's eroding slowly and changing the color and mixing, but it's not the same stuff. And now I'm down to one. This is South America. This is actually in Argentina. And these arcs, these ridges come from the mountains. There's another one over here. You see those others two over here, and you see this one, and there's more on the other side of this great plateau. They were collecting stuff. These dribble mountains, I mean, look at those things. That was, if you look at the road, the fact that the road carves through it means that the bottom layer, the beige, was there first, and then the stuff was just put on top and dripped. I call those dribbles. That's a dribble. Like, and that's what I think about that Matrix picture. Here, this is Spanish Peaks again, east and west, and you've got these so-called volcanic dikes, but they're going all over and crisscrossing each other. That doesn't seem right. Have you ever seen a volcanic dike go up and over the other side? Okay, I was standing over there, and I say that actually this looks like it dropped down and stopped. But it does look like it bulges up a little bit. Hey, Nikki Anna Jones. Thank you for joining. Yeah, I went there. I went over there to Colorado to take a look at this. And the idea that these could be... Well, now here, this kind of takes away from my little theory. So let's go back to the previous picture. So this is the Twin Peaks up in Colorado. And you've got these geologists call them volcanic dikes. You probably don't even know. Did you just join? Because I honestly hope you watched the beginning of this. I made my point a lot earlier, and now I'm following up with what they did with this stuff. This I think it might be an ancient mining byproduct. Nikki Anna, if you don't know me, you're gonna have to understand that I want to know what happened before Atlantis, and I think that we should take a close look at what we can see in South Africa. Michael Tellinger was talking about this footprint. The footprints in this stuff, this byproduct, this mining, possibly mud byproduct. And he was talking about taking gold. Well, there's a lot of gold up here in the Spanish Peaks. So if you got the gold up here, and these lines are maybe, I just showed you that it was a possibility to use slurry as a transport device. So if these tracks, and I don't know what's going on with the crisscrosses, I call these scissoring dikes. Please don't look at my search history, because when I did search scissoring dikes, I got a variety of stuff. But these volcanic dikes, well, I cleared my search history, so we won't worry about that. But these volcanic dikes, I don't know why they're crisscrossing. They look like they're they look like they're unnaturally placed. And that means intelligently placed. Well, who put them there? Humans? I've kind of come to the conclusion that whatever happened here in North America was a long time ago, like maybe 100,000 or a million years ago. And I've got a lot of people that try to tell me there were nuclear wars and stuff. I don't want to go there, but I'm seeing what I see here, and I'm telling you that it's intriguing. And the fact that I think that they had a machine that put these down, these volcanic dikes. I think they're just walls, or I would be surprised if they were a transport device for slurry. But slurry is the topic of this video today. Yeah, North America seems a lot older. I was looking at what's going on in Utah. And by the way, I am seeing your comments, and I thank you so much for joining today. Is that it? It's kind of not enough. It's too big. Okay. Anyways, I just like to show the chat sometimes. I'm not looking at it. I'm multi-screened. So these things, this is Argentina. Let's go back. I think that this was overburden dumping of some ancient mining project. Because what you see is those lines underneath. I think it's like this was overburden dumping put there after the lines were created. These lines coming from the mountains, I know those look pretty natural, but they match these other lines. I'm going back to Utah. That's Utah. That's Utah. And these needles, these so-called needles, let me see if I can find them. I went over there. I drove over there and I said, I got to figure out the mainstream explanation for this stuff. So I went to Utah. It was freezing. And I just want to show you this one picture because I got it from the sign that was out there, the needles. And they're trying to say this stuff broke up in parallel lines. Well, if you want to take just a quick look at this other picture that I put, which is here, you'll see that a lot of these so-called ancient quarrying lines that I've found, they're not parallel in the regard, they're parallel to the direction, right? That's going up and down. But these parallel lines are going in this direction, and then you've got a third set of parallel lines there. You've got three sets. You got the, let's say north-south, let's say east-west, and then what's this one? That's a third one. I'll have to check it out. Nikki, you said New Mexico. Okay, let's talk about New Mexico. Let's talk about, I don't know if I have the pictures ready, but there's some of those lines that I showed you. This is different. Some of those lines that I showed you are actually, by the way, like I said, I just saw your comment. I'm sorry, now I have to say, this one, which one? Which one is the question? I was just showing you this one. Oh yeah, you're probably asking about this one. This is up north of the richat structure, where I went 2 times. Did I mention that before? There's so many different signs of some type of ancient... Oh, man. I had it. There it is. This is actually in South Africa, and this I always called the smoking gun because I could do that. I could create that like with a tractor maybe, or with a shovel. But these lines are all over the place. And here what we have is damming and reclamation of some sort. They wanted to use that to do some type of a gold pit. So yeah, the one you were talking about, since you are also, by the way, did you notice Jimmy mentioned my name on Joe Rogan? I don't know if I mentioned that yet. So these so-called needles in Utah, I think they're pretty old. Let me just show Nikki where that is. And that means that I have to open. So Nikki, before you got here, I think I asked ChatGPT, and he said, or she or it said, that in mining, slurry is often used to transport minerals and ore concentrates over long distances through pipelines. Or maybe even pipelines only, or could they go through canals? It's also the production of cement. Everything I just showed, I think, well, is it getting me rich? We'll find out about that. I'm going to show you where that stuff is, Nikki, because you're my special guest right now. I almost drank glass earlier, just before you arrived. Normally, I'd be getting drinks, but okay, so here we are at the richat structure. And we're going to just make sure this is north-south so I know where I'm going. And up here, so it's not exactly north, you have some stuff going on. Now, this is Mauritania, this is Algeria, and down here is Mali. Everything's in Mauritania that we're talking about. And as you get in here, you get these two sand dunes, and the place is right there. And there's a bunch of stuff going on. But you right away notice those, what I call quarry lines. You see them everywhere. You know, you could argue that they're modern day. Well, you got your shout out too, and I saw what it did to your subs. I don't know what your number is today, but I saw what it did. So as you can see, there it is right there, what I was showing you. And you can see those, I call them quarry lines. If you don't think so, then take another look just north of the richat structure. Now also I did a video about these arcs because I think they're also very interesting. What it says to me is ancient people created these walls, and these are big walls. I call that the nipple wall. Sorry, I'm a man. And there's several of that shape. That shape. It's like these arcs, and they don't have straight lines in their wall making. What are they doing? Well, zoom in here. You have a lot more what I call ancient quarrying. I mean, this place is crazy. And if you look at my videos, I've already talked about this. So the area has a couple of other ones as well, like up here. This whole area is questionable. I mean, there's the same, I don't call that, the needles explanation kind of falls apart right there when it comes to the lines, because how could a rock make three parallel lines? I just don't think so. What keeps showing up here, I'm looking at your chat, is this thing, these so-called shortcuts. I was going to use that in the thumbnail and I didn't. I used that other weird thing. So thank you again for your comments. I'm actually getting close to the end. I've been doing this for 40 minutes now. I got 2 viewers, 6 thumbs up. That's great. I'll show you a couple more things around here because I do think it was ancient quarrying. When I go back to the richat structure, there's other ancient quarrying. And I'm not sure if you're aware of it, so I thought I'd show it to you right now. If you have any questions, please ask them now because I'm almost out of here. I'm going to go rinse my mouth out of glass. What is this thing? This thing is, I drank a San Pellegrino water, and the very top edge of the bottle cracked off and went to my drink. And I spit it into the trash can. I should probably pull it out and sue somebody. So yeah, this thing, I wanted to go there. I just got back from the richat in October. I wanted to go here. We couldn't make it, and then they told me, oh, you got to go by camel. So, thank you, Sean. Yeah, that's my favorite quarry field. Now, if you want to look at the ones inside the richat structure, and by the way, let's not kid ourselves. Randall Carlson, he said it himself, right? Randall Carlson said outcrops in this structure were being quarried by somebody hundreds of thousands of years ago. He wasn't talking about this stuff. He was talking about quarries. And I didn't really know what he was talking about. You can hear him say that yourself if you click on a link I provided in my Twitter. But I finally found them, and they're over here. I was so close, because when I went to the richat structure, we were back in the castle days, and wow, look at that. It's so terrible. This is actually a new image, a new satellite image. It's so much worse. I recommend you go to Google Earth Pro and use the timeline feature and look at this in a previous image. There it is right there. I went there. I was standing there. But what I didn't realize was just a few, like a kilometer away, was this quarry field. And there's two of them. There's three of them. This one is crazy. You see these straight lines here. They're not natural. And are these the quarry fields that Randall Carlson were talking about? I hope you ask him if you see him. What did you make of it in person? Okay, let me just look at all these comments. Yeah, so I'm glad you have seen those, and there's a lot more up there. Up in the north area, I did want to make one more point about that, then I'll answer those questions. If you go up here, it's not just that one area. You can actually zoom in here. Look at these lines. You can already see them. But if you get back out, I'm sorry, not really back out, but change the perspective, you can see that these were also some type of ancient quarrying line. Now, when I first saw these, I thought they were natural. I thought, oh, that's all natural. But now, I mean, I don't know if it was all worked, but when you see these lines going that distance, it really, to me, feels like it's some type of a ancient project that was going on here, especially over here. Look at those. Look at those lines. And you do see the quarry fields. So, yeah, it's a quarry field. And that's not the only one. You know, we've recently discovered a second richat. I just found out. Now I'm just going to be going all in different directions. So where's the questions? Where's the chat? Let me move that over here. Well, I'm almost done myself, so don't worry. I'm just because Nikki's here. Can I say Nikki, or do I have to say Nikki Anna? I just want to show a few things. Sue them. Who am I suing? Who am I suing? Let's look at the chats. Who am I suing? So we can go buy Mauritania. Thank you for that. I do thank you so much for saying that, Sean. Okay, great. I will say Nikki. Okay, so sue them. I didn't really catch that 100%. In person, I'll give you an idea. Honestly, Nikki Anna, I thought that it wasn't the richat anymore. I mean, I walked through here a couple times, and in October, and by the way, you should give a shout out to Indie Archaeology, who's there right now. And if he didn't get his drone in the country, then he's going to be pissed, because he went there to do drone footage. I told him to go over here and take a shot of this, because I want to see what created that. I think that's overburden dumping. But gold is the main goal. I mean, if you see stones missing, then it was stone masoning. I'm sorry, I'm looking at your chats. Oh, good. Well, I just chatted him up on Twitter, and sorry, I'm responding to this. Okay, yes, it's criminal that it's being hidden. I'll see you later. I think gold is one of them, and yes, it makes me think that maybe the ancient alien theory or the Anunnaki theory has some merit. And yes, he is in Mauritania right now. And by the way, I went there. What the hell is that? I call it the donut. I did a little video, but I wish I had more time. I kind of got messed with on my second trip, and he flew directly into a tar, which I congratulate him for. But the round trip ticket's going to cost about $800. And up here, when you get up to the top of the plateau here, let me try to stay focused. I could talk about a lot of things, but let's say I focus on my answer to your question. I didn't think it was the ancient circles that Plato wrote about. And I'm like, okay, it's just a natural thing. But then suddenly I discovered this canal. And this canal, if you follow it, you can see it a little bit there. It goes all the way through the Adrar Mountains. You can see it there. Look at that. And where does it point? Let's point it north. So I make a point to its pointing. Where is it? There it is, right there. And what is it? Where does it go to? So you can see, I mean, I can see, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm following my canal north. I call this the Richat Canal. Why? Because it points directly towards the Richat. And therefore, I have to believe that it went there. I mean, there's canals everywhere. Nikki, I walked down this one right here. There's 2 parallel canals right here. I was right about here. You can see the trees. It goes right through this hard, solid bedrock. It's not soil. I rang it. It's about 10 foot. Those are trees. And the top of the edge is the same height as a tree. It's almost 20 foot high. So I walked down this one, and I knew about the other one that was parallel, but you know, I really was hoping my second trip I could do stuff like this, and it just didn't work out, unfortunately. I won't get into it. But right in between, we've got the highest part of the Adrar Plateau, and in that part, you can see these ancient scores. So something was going on there, and Randall Carlson said hundreds and thousands of years ago. This is a little different from what was over there. So we don't know what the heck was going on. And I told Graham, right? I told him to go over here and drone this area if he could. Catch him on Instagram. Tell him to go over there to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That's this guy right here. That's Rudolph, and that's his nose. And tell him to go get his nose. And by the way, let's not forget the ancient work that you can see on top of that plateau. And it goes on and on and on. I found stuff over here that's going crazy. Lots of straight lines. Well, you have that famous 45-degree line as well. If you look, you've got these lines that cut like a 45-degree cut. I found these over here on the edge very interesting. The same thing is you've got straight lines, but then you've got a 45-degree cut. And most of the time, it starts at the bottom left. I mean, if you turn it over 180 degrees, it's going to be the same story, right? So it's the same story if you turn it 180 degrees. The line starts on the bottom left and goes up to the top right to a different line. It's just a theory. So this whole thing started with my suggestion that the white stuff that we see at the top of all these, yeah, there's all sorts of stuff all around. I was looking at this. This kind of reminds me of Utah. Those needles that we're looking right at. That's perfect, right? It just went on top of them. They're not exactly the same because I drove through there. I couldn't drive through here. This was impossible to reach. But I drove through some that were similar, and it's got several layers of sediment. And so I really think they're old. Like you said, Nikkiana, a real old reset. This was the Utah. I went back here because of you. And then I'm going to go forward, and then I'm going to finish the video. This thing, I consider that overburden dumping because of the lines underneath it. I can't zoom out. I try to always include the coordinates down here. I mean, it doesn't make it easy, but it at least, if I die tomorrow, they're out there, right? You don't have to go to, you can go to my What's This Atlantis Facebook.com/was this Atlantis, no question mark. And then you'll see all the pictures that I'm showing you. I have some even older ones out there, but we'll start there. That's the Spanish Peaks. You've got the North-South Mountain that's right there. That's crazy. You can't really reach it. It's private property. You've got the crisscross dikes, and then you've got more over here. I call them dikes because that's what they are in mainstream, but I think that they're ancient megalithic walls. This is in New Mexico. This is called Pie Town. There are these 2 parallel lines. There's one, you can see it. This one, you can barely see it under there. I don't want to go to Google Earth right now, or I'd show you. I do want to drop by there. I'm going to go visit. And let's talk about this, right? I mean, that right there, now I kind of think that white stuff could have been part of this. and that is Devil's Tower. This is back where I said that Graham should go. There's 2 mountains with bisections. Okay, it's not just one. I believe this is like overburden dumping. And this in the Tibesti Hills. It's definitely, I don't know if it's erosion or if it's a buildup, but if it is, it's probably that same slurry, that mining byproduct from these giants. I just showed you that in the richat structure. This is Morocco. It's hard. Go ask Randall Carlson how these were made. Because to me, it looks like it's one line, one single line. I just don't think that's possible in real geology. And then we've got these things in South Africa that I was talking about. Yeah, I'm almost finished. That's the Tibesti Mountains. This is in Africa. I mean, that's big, right? And it still seems like it has some kind of a intelligent design to it. And here's another one nearby. That same angle. Like they go with the main line, and when they get to the end, they're like, okay, it's a serif. And they hook away, and as like their machine is dumping this stuff, and they're like, okay, this is where I wanted to go across this river. And then that's like, okay, I got to cross. Now I got to go back home. I'm just going to hook back, and I'm going to go this way. And the machine's still dumping a little bit, but not as much as the main line. I mean, I've got a big imagination, but look at this one. It looks like that thing was dumped right on top of this other stuff. Okay, you can check out that video. I love his explanation. I played it one time on my video. I won't do it again, but I am ending this video. Thank you so much for joining me. Nikki Anna, we're all in this together. I believe that in my heart. So, yeah, the tree trunk, I saw that. I understand why people think that, but if you look at the thing, I don't think that you're going to really see what... I mean, it looks like a footprint of a tree trunk, and I just don't know if the Earth could have had trees that big. But we had people who were 36 foot tall. I just found that in a book on giants. The largest giants were 36 feet. So that's 6 by 6. That's pretty tall. So maybe trees were big, but I don't know. Thank you so much, Nikki and Anna, for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.